All right, this is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about debt settlement. There's still a lot of misconceptions about what debt settlement actually is. And I'm going to talk about if you potentially have a judgment and you moved out of state. I had a very good conversation with an individual today that kind of had some worries about what could potentially happen. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And also I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategies that debt collectors are using, third-party debt collectors are using when they sue in court. This is a new strategy that I see them starting to utilize. And then I'm also going to talk about the two victories. I love getting these emails every day from people who have won their cases with using information that we provide. And I want to state, even though it's in our disclaimer, that we are not attorneys. We're not giving legal advice or accounting advice. If you need legal or accounting advice, please consult a competent legal professional in your area. So I'll first start off with some advice. Start off with some advice. If you don't know this already, if you haven't picked this up from me, my personality is the type that is very, very helpful to people. Very helpful. Even sometimes people may say that I get taken advantage of with the help that I give to people. And a crazy thing is that I was thinking to myself the other day, like, I'm older now. I'm 55 years old, and I was thinking like of the awards and stuff that I've won, and this might shock some of you that I've never, with 34 years of being in business, with employing over 200 and something people, helping numerous. When I say this number, some people think it's a lie, but it's not a lie. Over 7,000 businesses. You can, if you go to my marketing company's website, you could see that I have 34 years of publications for my publishing company, where we've actually printed publications. We don't print anymore, but you could see all of the businesses for 34 years every week, and all of the different businesses that we've worked with. It's a lot of companies, small, medium, large, mom and pop, people starting businesses in their home. And but I was thinking that I had never won an award for anything that I've done. I've never won an award for my credit company. I've never won an award for helping businesses market, like zero. Now, I have been awarded, like saying thank you for like companies that I've done work for, and they would send me something for the holidays, and I would give that to my employees, and it would be like cookies and stuff, and we would enjoy it. And then but I was thinking, like, yes, I have gotten awards. I have gotten awards. It's just I had to shift my mind, because like I got this thank you card. So whoever, the person, I'm not going to mention your name, but you know what family this is that sent this to me. And I'm going to read it. It was saying thank you to me and one of my employees. And it said, thank you for helping us get out of debt from numerous credit cards and current lawsuits with Discover Card. And we hopefully wish to avoid either going to civil or municipal court. And they went into some more stuff. I don't want to go into all that. And they said thank you and have a happy holidays. And they actually wrote like a long letter here, but they sent me this thank you. So when I think about it, I do get awards. And then there's another gentleman that wrote here that he wanted to give us an update, and he's been going through this court case. I was looking at the date on his summons response, and this was actually done back in 7 of 2022. 7 of 2022 is when we started to help this individual being sued by a debt collector. Debt collector purchased the debt, and the response was written, and he had been going to court back and forth, numerous hearings, and they do that because they want to try to get a person to quit, want to get a person to try to give up. And he just wrote me an email, and he said that it is dismissed with prejudice. And he was like, I'd like to thank you for all of your help. And he said that when speaking with the judge told him that 98% of the cases like his end up in default judgments because the defendants never show up. And now, this gentleman was being sued for $18,338.04. And I remember when he came to us with this situation, I was like, this is a mess. But it's a mess that a judge, if he did not have a response to this court summons, that the judge would have had no choice but to do a default judgment to the debt collection company that was suing him. And so that's another award. So I could say that I have, just for today, that stand out. There's some other ones that came through, but that stands out today because this couple took, they sent me this in the mail. They took the time to send that in the mail, and then this gentleman wrote me a long email. I'm going to put this on our website also for the email that he sent over. Sorry about that. I got to put this on silent here when people are calling me. I did get my awards. Sometimes you don't get an award the way that you might think that you should get it. You get it in different ways, and these actually mean a lot because that means that it was a win-win. That means that it was a win for the service we provided, and it was a win really over and above for these individuals because obviously we didn't charge nowhere close to $18,000 to deal with this gentleman, and if he would have lost, he would have had to pay $18,000. I think that sometimes that gets lost in translation because if you lose the case, they have an $18,000 judgment. You win it, yeah, it's not like they give you $18,000, like you have $18,000, but in a sense, you do have you get to keep $18,000 of your money that could have been having to be placed towards something else. That's what it means. And for everybody, not everybody, but for you who watch my videos and, say, well, you need to just pay your bills and all that stuff. This was a third-party debt collector who bought this debt, and there was major issues with this. This debt was, this lawsuit was so messed up with what they did with all of the different plaintiffs that were actually attached to this lawsuit that I can't even show it, because if I showed this one here, this debt collection company would know how we would or they would know who, and probably try to put together some other strategy to go against what we did with this one here. But it just, the way that we helped him respond, they just stopped showing up. Like the second and third time, First time they showed up, didn't have an answer to his response. Second time didn't show up. Third time didn't show up. Case got dismissed. But the reason why is because of response. This response was excellent. All right, so let's get into it here. Let's talk about the strategy that third-party debt collectors are starting to utilize. What they're doing now is that they're trying to make people make a decision on if they want to fight to spend money. So what they're doing is, rather than just dismissing the case because there's a good chance that they can win, they're taking it to another level where they're saying, okay, we could lose, but let's make them spend more time and money in responding. So they're making people respond to production and admissions. So that's where you're going to have to answer and interrogatories. You're going to have to answer those. These are sheets that look very intimidating because it's asking you questions about the account. It can ask you questions about your bank account. They can request that you provide any and all of your debit card transactions. It's very intimidating, and they're doing that for a reason, because number one, they have a right to do it, because if they're going to take it to trial, they have to get all that information. But number two, what it does to an individual who is not who doesn't understand that process, it can make them feel like, hey, they're getting ready to put the hammer down on me, and you have to answer truthfully to those questions. Now, there's certain things that you don't have to answer to according to your state laws, where there may be privacy issues that you only need to discuss certain things with the original creditor, not with someone who was assigned, assumed that debt, or purchased that debt. And they can ask trick questions in there, making you believe that you're actually answering a question about about the original creditor, when you're actually answering a question about the third-party debt collector who purchased the debt. So it's very tricky, but this is their new strategy. So what I've seen them doing is they first, you got to respond to the court summons. If they choose to move forward, then they're going to have you production, admissions, interrogatories. And on top of that, if you live in a state where you have to do electronic filing, unless you can get an exemption, you might have to pay a filing fee. So really, they're make a decision on if this case is worth to just go ahead and try to settle it, or to fight it. And so it's got to be a pretty big dollar amount case for you to want to continue to fight it, because of the money you have to spend to just even continue. Or if it's a lower one, then it might just be better to just reach out to do a settlement. And I've had conversations with clients where I'm like, is it more important for you to just fight it, and it's coming down to the principle, or do you want to just get this over with and just be done with it? And and that's just a personal decision. I've had people that $1,500 lawsuit, they've already spent $600-$700 to fight it. That's how much it would cost to fight it. And I'm like, maybe you should use that money to do a settlement. I'll tell them that, because I'm like, you're getting upwards to where it's if you lose, you have that you lost, and you got to pay that whatever you can settle with on that. What about just saying, hey, I'm halfway there anyway. If I try to fight this, why don't I just go ahead and just reach out about a settlement? And we help them do that, and we don't charge too much to do something like that, just to try to save money, save you money, and save you time, and allow you to be able to move forward. So that's strategy that they're using. So be aware of that. Now let's talk about, before we get into debt settlement, let's talk a little bit about if you have a debt collection out there and you move to another state. Depending on the type of debt that it was, they can actually still sue you in the state that you used to live in. Now, if it's a business account, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that a lot of people, a lot of the court summons cases that we've dealt with this year is where people had gotten business loans or they had used a credit card for business, so it was a business and had their name on it as a personal guarantee. And what you could see happen is that if they do the lawsuit, like say for instance you move, this is from a conversation I had earlier, and it was very good because I believe that there are people in that same situation that are out there. So say that you have a business, you move to another state, business is closed down, everything is shut down, and they try to sue the business. If they do not sue you and the business, then you really have nothing to worry about. If you close the business, it's going to be a dead end for them. They could sue the business, nothing to get, it's closed. You could even submit that to them. If you find out that they're suing the business and you just say, hey, it's closed, they'll probably just dismiss it. If they sue you and the business, they can actually sue you and the business in the state that you don't live in. They can actually do that because it's a business civil lawsuit to a business. So they could, if your name is on there and the business's name is on there, they can sue you even though you moved to the other state. So what they'll do is they will sue you, and then they'll do what's called a foreign judgment over to the state that you live in. And those are, I would say, it's hard to overcome those. You would have to do it within a period of time with the state that it was actually filed in, and that means that you would have to, set up arrangements to go fight them in the state that you used to live in. Very difficult. I know that it's very difficult because I've experienced that in my past. So it's very difficult. So I would state, just like I told the young man that I talked to on the phone, is that if you have that type of situation where you moved and maybe it's not being forwarded, and they don't even actually have to forward it. If it's in your name and the business name, they just have to prove attempted service, and then what they'll do is put it in the newspaper as a public notice. That's it, and then they'll sue you if you don't show up. They're going to get a default. They're going to submit it over to the state that you live in, and they're going to be able to collect, and there's not going to be no court case, no time to get in front of a judge to fight it when it's a foreign judgment. It's just not going to happen. So you have to be very careful about allowing that to happen. If it's a personal one, they have to come to the state that you live in now. They cannot sue you in the state that you used to live in. So hope that clears that up. Now the next one is debt settlement. The big confusion about debt settlement. I think that when talking to people about debt settlement, it's really not that they don't understand debt settlement for what it is. What people have to do is they have to wrap their mind around the decision that they're about to make. Like I've had so many conversations, so many emails, live chats, webinars with people and people face to face in the office, and it comes down to this. It's like you got to wrap your mind around really what is your ultimate goal, because when you know what your ultimate goal is, then you can decide on what you're willing to go through to get to that ultimate goal. So because the other goal does not harm your credit, does not harm you and put you in the position to be able to be sued and all of that, we don't even really need to get into that. That's where you just figure out a budgeting and pay the debt down. You can get them to lower the payments for a period of time. You can get the deferments for a period of time, but you're going to pay the amount that's owed. So that right there, it doesn't hurt your credit. You're going to be able to work your way through that if you can do it with budgeting. Let's talk about what really 99% of you that are watching this video and the people who come to me and ask this question, where you are at. Where you're at is you're at this situation where you're probably paying and you're thinking about stop paying. I'm just going to stop paying them. I can't afford to pay them. I'm paying them and struggling. So running through your mind is what's going to happen if I stop paying them? And so you stay focused on what's going to happen if I stop paying them. And maybe you reach out to debt settlement companies, or you reach out to companies like ours, which we do not tell you to stop paying them. So you cannot come to us. You can only come to us if you stop paying them and it's already charged off, because we do not feel comfortable telling people to stop paying their payments. But if you've already made that decision and you've stopped doing it and they're charged off, you can come to us, because that's a decision that you've made and you've actually had 6 months to follow through on that no payments, because that's how long it's going to take to charge off those credit cards. But really what you're thinking about is you're thinking about the repercussions of what is going to happen if you do it. That's really the decision. And so really to help you make that decision is, what is your ultimate goal? If your ultimate goal is to just get this debt off of you, to be able to settle the debt regardless of what is going to happen with your credit, regardless of what's going to happen with them calling you, regardless if they're going to try to sue you, all of that stuff, because all of that stuff is going to happen if you take that route. It could potentially happen with the lawsuits, but guaranteed to happen is that your credit is going to be ruined. Guaranteed to happen is that they're going to be calling you. They're going to be blowing up your phone for that period of time. Of the 6 months, they can call you all the time. The original creditor can call you every day. Where's the payment? Where's the payment? Where's the payment? Send you emails, calls, letters in the mail. They can do that over and over and over again. They are the original creditor. After the 6 months, they're going to probably hire a company to contact you to say, hey, what's going on with these payments? And that's where you're going to get ready to start with the negotiation process. But one of the things that I think a lot of people fall short on is that, can you really save money? So if you stop paying your payments to these credit card companies, are you of the mindset to start saving some or even all of the money? Some or even all of the money. When my wife and I went through it in the 90s, there was, all of this stuff was kind of new to strategies and ways to deal with debt collectors. So when we went through it, we just said, we got to save the money. We got to save the money, and whoever we negotiate with, we negotiate with. We learned a lot during that time period, but are you of the mindset to save the money? Because this plan of debt settlement will not work unless you're in the mindset of saving the money. To be of the mindset to save the money, that means that if you were struggling to make those payments and you cut those payments in half, will you even be disciplined enough to put a portion of that away for settlements? You really have 6 months to save as much money as possible, so you could just be right when they all charge off, be like right out of the gate being able to work out deals with them. Some companies can work out deals before they charge off. Most companies cannot. I've seen some companies do it, which they would never do it, but I've seen some companies do it. But it's few and far between. They're going to usually have to have it charged off before they do it. And even if they do it, that they're just accelerated the charge off. So you would settle it and then it would be charged off on your credit reports next month. So you would, because we had a client that got upset when they did a settlement. They were like, I just did a settlement, and they put it as a charge off the next month. And I was like, yes, because they're not allowed to just willy-nilly go and do settlements. They have to take that off the books. So they just accelerated your charge off, charged it off early, and then did the settlement. So it's going to be reported as a settlement paid for less. That's just the way that it's going to be. So are you willing to accept the bad credit? Are you willing to accept the phone calls coming in? Are you willing to accept that they could sue you? Are you willing to accept that you got to save money for the settlements? Also, I'll throw another one in. Are you willing to accept the frustration and potentially, depending on your personality, going to bed worrying about the next move of all of the creditors? So if you got 5, 6, 7, 8 potential credit card creditors, you don't know what one of them is going to do and what the next one's going to do. In essence, you have 8. Think of it this way. You got 8 people targeting you for your money. And if you're working a job, you're the target. And they could sue you, garnish, do all of that stuff. And I'm not saying it to scare anybody. When I'm saying it to get clarity. I'm saying it for clarity. I think that it's more important for me to be 100% upfront and clear with you about what you're going to face than to try to sugarcoat something and make something look like it's not what it is, and then you be upset about it. So if you're willing to accept those circumstances, debt settlement could be the way to go for you. And something that I've noticed from clients who got that clarity in their mind is that they actually made settlements faster. Like, we've had clients when they got that in their mind, and like when they had saved money, and they just were able to just go through it. Like, they were like, okay, let's settle this one, let's settle that one. Because when you get into the mindset of being positive, you get into the mindset of knowing the worst that can potentially happen. All you can do really, if you're thinking right, is move forward. Unless something else is going on in your life, other things, when you know the worst that can happen to you, there is no other direction that you can go other than moving up. It's unless other things are going on in your life, and that is a potential. But what I find when dealing with clients is that they're like, man, okay, I got my feet under me. Something better happens with the job. They either get a better job or they get a job promotion. Because when you have the mindset where you start thinking positive and stop being in that negative field where you're letting all this negative stuff grow, and you move over into a positive field where it's just positivity, you get rid of negative people. You have negative people move away from you, and you have positive people coming into your life, talking positive, speaking, being positive, and all of a sudden good things happen. All of a sudden don't say go get a scratch off ticket, but all of a sudden you do a scratch off ticket and you win $500. Reason why I say that is one of the times years ago, my wife and I were on a vacation in St. Augustine, and when we went on that trip, we had rented a house on the beach. And that whole time when we were on that beach, I had this feeling of being very positive. Like, all I did was I went on the beach and walked around, and then we sat in the house and just like chilled out. A big house, just me and my wife. And at that time, my wife was on oxygen, but it was just relaxing. And then when we went to the store, we went to a 7-Eleven, and I had got a scratch off ticket, and I won $500. And then I went back. Well, I won $100, and then I went back, got the $100, got another ticket, and I remember this because we would say, you got to drive off. You can't scratch it off here. We would drive off because we were like doing the same routine over and over. And on the second ticket, I won $500. Went back in, got the $500, and then got another ticket, and then left again. Scratched it and won $500 again. And then did it again, and then won $500 again. And then the last time we did it, we didn't win $500. But I remember when we went into the store, the guy was like, he had to wait for a timer. So he had to wait 20 minutes for the safe to open because he didn't have the money in the register anymore to give it to us, so we had to sit there and wait. But one of the things that when I think back to that day, and this has happened to me for many things in my life, it actually just happened for something for me uh, just yesterday. Like last night, something happened that was like a huge idea, and that idea came from being in a positive mode for that problem that I had. And but it's because I was in a positive mindset. When you're in a positive mindset, things come to you, solutions come to you. It just grows. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. You see your way out of it. You're out of that negative thought pattern. And so that's what happens with people when they start to understand, hey, I know that this is a debt, but they have flipped over from not having to pay the debt to I want to resolve these issues with the debt. And all of a sudden they're able to come up with the money, like money that they didn't even think they had. They were able to come up with it. And because they were positive minded, it seems that that the original creditor or the debt collector was more willing to settle for their amount. And we've had other clients that were negative, and the debt, like they won't even budge on their account. And I think that's because we're positive thinking, clients positive thinking, and it makes that whole thing come together with the individual that we're talking to about resolving the debt. That even comes to mind with another one that we're dealing with right now, where I kind of got out of myself yesterday speaking for a client with a debt collection company, where they're making huge threats to this individual. And I kind of got a little bit where I was like, hey, he claimed we were not doing anything for our client when we are doing something for our client, because I tell them what our client told us when it comes to a settlement. I'm telling you what our client said. So it's not like we're not doing anything. What you really mean is that we're not getting anywhere because my client doesn't have the money to pay you. But by me telling them, hey, we need to try to come to something to resolve it. We don't need to be shouting back and forth with each other. The ultimate goal is to come to a resolution. And you know that this morning I emailed that debt collector representative for the original creditor for a substantial amount of money. He emailed back and he said, send me your client's 3 statements, bank statements, and hardship. From experience, when I hear that, that means that we're getting, like, we were like this far away. Now we're like here. For this settlement, we're like right here. Because when you make the connection with that individual that's in between helping their upper person make that decision, and you're the one that's, see, picture this. This is our client. This is us. This is the debt collection company, and this is their client. So these two parties have to get into a positive frame of mind really before anything is going to be pushed over to get to the original creditor or the debt collector that's going to make the ultimate yes or no decision. And if you're not in a positive mindset when dealing with people, and if you don't know how to maneuver from having, there's a time where I know most of you will know what I mean when I say this. There's a time where you have to say it a certain way to get it across to an individual, and then you have to come back and have a hand out for that individual. So basically yesterday what I had to do is I had to say it a certain way so this individual would know, number one, that I'm representing my client the way that I'm supposed to, and that we are serious. And then this morning I extended the handout, and I call it giving the individual ability to save face. I extended my hand out to him, And then he extended his hand back out and said, get the 3 bank statements and the hardship, and we'll do some more talking. And when I hear that, that means that we're like this. We get very close. So when dealing with debt settlement, that's the process. So if you're doing it yourself, that's what you're going to be doing. If you're doing it with a company, that's what they're going to be doing. Or you're doing it with us, that's what we're going to be doing. That's you. So you got to understand what I told you at the beginning about, where you got to be willing to know that they could sue you. Got to be willing to budget and put money aside. Got to be willing to allow your credit to be messed up. And then you if you're dealing with debt settlement companies, you also got to be willing to pay 20 to 25% premium on top of the settlement. We have an overall fee depending on how many debts you have, so we don't go by percentages. And then the other thing is that you have to be willing to allow the back and forth, because it's going to be a lot of back and forth to get the job done. And but it can be done. It can be done. So I don't want to scare anyone away from that solution. It can be done, but what I'm doing is I'm clarifying what you're going to have to go through to be able to get that done. If you do it yourself, or if you have a company do it, it can be done, but you got to understand what you're going to be going through. All right. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, what makes us different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. That's the way that we repair credit. If you need your credit report scores, go to the website your3scores.com. Grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. If you have debt collectors coming after you early, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations letter, debt validation, cease and desist. I put instructions on the top so you'll know which one to use for pertaining to your specific situation. If you are trying to make the decision on what you should do with your credit card debt, you should get a consultation with me. Go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com. In the live chat, request a consultation. I do charge for it, but this is what you're going to get. I'm going to give you a specific answer with different solutions on what you could do for your credit card debt. And we will also have a conversation, because I want to make sure that you understand what I do, the solutions. And but you can request it through the live chat. If you're getting sued by debt collectors, there's a link below this video also. So if you're getting sued by third-party debt collectors and original creditors, but with original creditors, they usually end up with settlement, and we can help you with that. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com. And I'll close out by saying everything 100%